All righty. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Just received a little beep saying that we're online now. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. My name is Robert Grant. I am the host of I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. And I thought today we would start by discussing a little bit about what's going on in the world, move on into conflict and how it can help us, and then move into Bitcoin and talk about blockchain and all that good stuff. So feel free if at any moment you'd like to send a message and be part of this. It's all participatory and we enjoy that. So hope you had a good week. Like I said, happy Cinco de Mayo. This is Mezcal, which is like the Scotch version of tequila. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyways, it's smoky and delicious. And on a few occasions, I've eaten the worm, and that results in some good times. Definitely not doing that tonight. So thank you so much for being on with us. Earlier yesterday, I was working out very hard for the first time in a long time. I was like, sucking air and all this stuff. And it was the hardest I've worked out in a while. But I know for a fact I wasn't working out nearly as hard as Bill Gates is, because I know he's currently going through divorce, so he's got to work on that revenge bod. In other news, China apparently shot a giant rocket into space that didn't even exit the atmosphere, blew up in the atmosphere, and I'm sure millions of particles have fallen down. I don't know what's become of that, but concerning news in the least to hear that there are currently rocket missiles being made in China that are being shot into the sky and apparently are about as good as quality as anybody can imagine. So problematic indeed, but this is the world that we live in. So hopefully they figure that out. Now, today I thought it would be appropriate to talk about conflict and how disagreements can actually make one stronger, in the sense of agreeing. Sometimes people agree with you just for the sake of agreeing with you, and that can result in a myriad of problems. Take, for example, Kanye West. So Kanye West was an incredible producer, became a very successful rapper, as we all know. And but he changed in recent years, and people change when they find themselves upon great fame and fortune, and he was no exception. It is said that he had people who would follow him around. This is Kanye West, who would agree with everything that he says and everything that he does. Everything would be like, oh yeah, that's great, that's cool, that's awesome, you're the best, you're Yeezy, you're Yeezas or whatever. And I just think he's such a popular example. I mean, you could use anybody, but this example was provided to me by Charlemagne the God in his book, Black Privilege. Wonderful book. Check it out. Anyways, it was said that people would always agree with what he was saying, except for Charlemagne, of course, countered and said, who are you really? What are you really about? And meanwhile, his cronies were in the back shaking their heads. Yeah, man, you're the best. You got it. You're awesome. And well, it turned out that everything that he was making was foolish. And hi, Chief. Good to have you. You're in your Twitch chat. Thanks again for joining us. So anyways, hey, we're good. We're good. We're going to talk today about conflict and how that can help us in understanding who we are. So thank you for joining. And then we're talking about Bitcoin and blockchain. So you might enjoy that. Yeah. Anyways, Kanye West, he had these people follow him around and said that you're so awesome, you're so great. And truth be told, he wasn't so awesome. And nobody was checking him and making him accountable for who he really was. And in so doing, his ego got inflated and he just it was kind of ultimately his downfall. So Moral of the story is true people, true friends, true family members, when you ask for their opinion, if they're worth their merit, they'll give you their honesty and they'll tell you, hey man, like, I don't know if this is what you should be doing. Now, there's tons of people on the internet that will discredit and try and discourage you from doing anything in the world. Like, that's just the way the internet could be. There's some foul people out there. So as somebody who is who's doing this, who's I guess a creator or whatever you want to say, somebody who's doing this, who's putting things out there, there's always going to be people who are trying to attack you and critique you. And we talked about this last week. There's more critics than there are creators in the world. And knowing that and being aware of that can hopefully help you to decide to continue doing whatever it is that you're doing. I mean, let us know in the comments what you're doing, because again, we want to integrate you into this. But know yourself. I think that that's such a valuable lesson that we can carry our whole lives, is to know thyself. And if we don't know thyself, we are headed for disaster. And we always will. I mean, this is the way it is. So have that circle of friends, circle of family members, people that love you, that can tell you, hey, I don't agree with this. I don't know. Like, are you sure this is the angle you want to approach? Listen to those people before you listen to all the trolls out there in the internet. I mean, try not even to be affected by them. I get into arguments, conversations, disagreements, whatever you want to call them, with trolls all the time. And if the way you win that argument, disagreement, is by not being offended, if you respond, if you appeal to emotion, you're going to lose that fight every time, because that's what a troll is after. I'm just talking about trolls on the internet for those who are joining. Thank you for being on. Be sure to put some comments on there. We want to put you in the show. So, trolls on the internet, don't let those people dissuade you from being who you want to be. If you want advice, if you're unsure of something, man, ask your mom. Ask your dad. If you don't have those people in your life, because some people don't, ask a mentor that you've had in your life. Everybody needs to have a mentor. I have many. I'm very blessed that way. I'm very blessed in the fact that, I'm always going to be a student. I'm always going to be a student. The best teachers in life are always students. So how does this intersect with our discussion about conflict? Well, imagine a society, and there are societies out there, where you're not allowed to disagree with the people in power. That if you do disagree with the people in power, you can be taken out. You can be erased, removed. And this is true of communist Russia, with Stalin and the Great Purges. Every single opponent of the party was removed. Where am I going with this? Well, cancel culture, again, I'm not saying that they're one and the same, but there certainly are parallels. Cancel culture is very much about the erasure of certain behaviors, that people get canceled, they get removed. Some people, they should be removed for some of the stupid things that they say, but other people, it's far superior to try and educate somebody than to try and remove somebody, eradicate somebody. So the thing here is that if you have somebody who's, in the public or whatever, and they're saying dumb things, which people say a lot of dumb shit these days, rather than fire them, remove them from their job, depending, of course, on what it is, educate them. And here's why. When you remove people in cancel culture, you're actually not making them a better person. You're actually more likely to make them double down on their bias or prejudice or whatever it may be, right? So the fact of the matter is that not everybody's woke, not everybody's aware, not everybody understands what's going on in today's society. And if you have the opportunity to have a real conversation with them, chances are they'll understand. So, for example, trying to think of a good one. trying to think of a good one. There's so many, but the intersections, I guess, of uh, Black women and people not always understanding that. So, for example, Aunt Jemima, people are like, well, why are they removing the logo of that? Well, if you understand and learn a little bit of the history behind that label and how it glorifies slavery and things like that, the more you verse yourself, you realize, okay, all right, this is not okay. But when we say, what the hell's wrong with you? Why don't you understand this? That's actually not winning people over to your side, to your argument, and you're not changing anybody's minds. In fact, oftentimes you're just going to make people double down on their resentments. So conflict can actually make us a better person. Imagine again if we lived in a society where we just agreed with everything that was put out there. We would be in for a very problematic world. So what it comes down to is changing how we have these conversations. And really what it comes down to is the removal of our emotions. If we respond every single time with hurt feelings, it's not actually going to make for progress. We have to be somewhat level-headed. We have to look at the facts, and we have to have conversations, and we have to look at both sides if we want there to be progress. I'm not saying that will result in either side being acceptable. But I just think that we have to have some conversation here, and through dialogue, that's how we have development. Through dialogue, that's how we have development in society and culture and politics and otherwise. So in 1961, I was doing a little bit of research, and there was the infamous Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba, which was orchestrated by the U.S. government and involved expats from Cuba to invade now communist-occupied Cuba from Fidel Castro to take it over from them. Now, during the process of coming up with this plan, they had the biggest think tanks in the U.S. military, in the government, and of course the expats that were going to lead the invasion. And they're coming up with a plan, and as they're talking, they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. And nobody was really questioning anybody. Nobody was saying, okay, but what about this? What about that? Sometimes you need to eat the devil's avocado to create something that is holistic. If you're in a room and everybody's agreeing on things, that can be problematic. At some point, we have to persuade people. We have to explain ourselves and hopefully have the other person pick up on this. But nothing worthwhile comes without challenge. That's what I believe. If you agree, if you disagree, please send some comments. So, does that make sense? That conflict is necessary for change. We cannot, just as a society, expect to agree on everything. That's never going to work. In fact, ultimately, what you can create is a one-party system. And down through the ages, we only need to look at the 20th century to understand how dangerous a one-party system is. The other problem is that in today's politics is that we do not have discussions between the right and the left, at least not civil conversations. There's always some strange kind of virtue signaling or lesser than, greater than, superiority complex on either side. And I really do think, again, that this has been further exacerbated by the media. Fox News, CNN, they demonize the other side, and there's no conversation. So this week we released 2 podcasts, one from a guy named William Gardner, who is a very famous conservative critic, conservative writer, and he was posing a lot of the other sides. Now, a lot of the things he was saying, I do not agree with, but rather than say, Will, like, what the hell's the matter with you? I respectfully listened and I respectfully disagreed. And through that discourse, I do think that there was some growth on either side. So please check that episode out. It was an awesome one. William's a really good guy. So that's what I want to see more of in our society, that you can have people having conversations where they don't agree, and that's a great way to win an argument with the troll, by the way, bringing this full circle. If you want to win an argument with the troll, be respectful of them, right? And you can kill somebody with kindness a lot faster than you can kill them with the caps lock. So, word to the wise. You can undress people with logic. And that's definitely what I did this week, because I was having an argument with somebody. They called me a racist. And I said, okay, well, explain that. And I explained my side. I don't even know if they knew who I was. I think they just looked at my comment, called me a racist. And then I threw facts at them about colonization and how that's, problematic. And I threw facts at them, and I didn't let emotion get the best of me. And I think that if you can avoid your appeals to emotion, you will get very far in life. So switching it up now, we got my man in your Twitch chat is back. We're talking about Bitcoin and blockchain. Now, this is definitely where I'm probably wrong about something. Comes back into play, because when I first heard about Bitcoin, I thought to myself, what in the dickens is that? Like, really, what the hell is Bitcoin? So I don't know if anybody listening, if you guys have invested in Bitcoin, but I've recently invested in Dogecoin. I put about $150 in there like a week and a half ago. And, because Elon Musk told me to. So I did that. And it's crazy. Like, I've actually seen a return in my investment faster than anything else. Now, $150 isn't much. The concern here is that, like anything, how do you control any of this? Like, it's so crazy what's happening right now. Really, Bitcoin, my understanding is that it's just like an idea. It's a cryptocurrency known as a blockchain, and it's like numbers or values that are created over the internet, through like, very powerful machines, and they're mining data, I guess. But then it's like, for what? And my understanding is that Bitcoin is a decentralized currency, which you got to think, what exactly does that mean? Decentralized currency. Well, a centralized currency, my understanding, is of a country. So the USD, the US dollar, is a centralized currency. It's central to the states, and then through trade and all that stuff, it circulates around the global economy, right? Please, anybody, stop me at any second if this is not making any sense. So that's what a centralized currency is. But a decentralized currency means that it's not bound to the borders of a nation. It's just bound to a community that's global, that's pan-national. I mean, anybody can be investing in these things. And I wonder what that means for the global economy, if that means that the way of finance in the 21st century of laissez-faire economics is kind of at risk with this whole Bitcoin thing. Because, again, it's like, where are we going with this? What are the extensions? So has anybody here invested in Bitcoin? You got, yes, Bitcoin, big money. Big money. Well, I know for a fact, a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, he was investing in Bitcoin, and he put like thousands of dollars down. And I asked him, what are you doing? Like, that's crazy. investing all that money. And he's like, man, you got to verse yourself. You got to understand what this is. And I was so skeptical because I kept asking myself, what the hell is this? This sounds super high risk. Anyways, my friend invested in it and he made money off of Bitcoin, off of nothing, zeros and ones. So I guess it comes down to, if this thing can make you money, I mean, really, what is anything? And that comes back to that decentralized piece of where all money is an idea. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Yuval Noah Harari, the Jewish academic intellectual, they're probably the same thing. But anyways, he writes in his book Sapiens and Homo Deus about the power of ideas and how all currency is just a matter of ideas, all trade, all barter, and all economics are mostly based upon stories, in the sense of originally it was a bartering system, like I give you my work in exchange for you do this for me. There was a direct exchange, but now the exchange is far more abstract. It's far more of a story. Like, what is money? Well, the amount of money in fiscal dollars is like a fraction of what is in circulation. So that means that, I don't know, I honestly don't know what the number is, but let's say 60%, and I think it's less than that, but 60% of the money actually physically exists. But the rest of it, so another 40%, does not exist. So if everybody took their money out all at once, as we know with the Great Depression, it would be a complete economic collapse, which again tells us that money is just part of the story. It's part of the thread that holds our society so loosely together. And once you start to examine this and ask yourself, how is this being kept together? It's kind of an uncomfortable thought. It's an uncomfortable question. How are we here? And then you hear about Bitcoin and Dogecoin, which is based upon a meme that Elon Musk really set out there. And people are putting thousands of dollars into this, seeing it go up and go down and up and down. It's just like, man, what the hell is going on right now? I mean, the 21st century are a period of absolute uncertainty. And man, it's just like, somebody please help me understand. So actually we're having somebody on in the future to explain Bitcoin in a future podcast episode. I don't know if anybody on here can illuminate me on what Bitcoin is, but I think it's part and parcel of the future of how we do business. Which means, what's the future of government, of organization, of the way that we understand democracy? These are perplexing questions. So, to bring it all kind of back, and how Bitcoin actually coincides with conflict and challenge. Well, as soon as I heard of Bitcoin, I said to myself, that's crazy. That doesn't make sense. That's stupid. That's crazy, right? Well, my friend made tons of money off of it. So I was wrong. And because I was wrong, I got to see firsthand the success. So sometimes having an open mind can reward you immensely. So before you pass judgment on something, try to verse yourself in it. Here's a tip. If you hear something, information, and it creates an emotional response in you, like revulsion or what is that, or it's something about it is grating upon you. Try to understand what that is. I get it. Some things are just dumb, but other things, because they conflict with what you think you know, and you're having what's called cognitive dissonance. So say you've known, say every dog you ever saw was black. Every dog you ever saw was black. And you live on a weird planet where every dog's black. And one day somebody brings a white dog to you and you say, "What's that?" And the person says, "Oh, this is my dog Skip." You're like, "Well, that's not a dog." What do you mean? That's not a dog because all dogs are black. Well, that's just it. So we have all these preconceived notions in our mind. And when we see one that conflicts with what we think we know, we're being challenged. So we can either reject the new information. So this white animal that's in front of you that apparently is a dog, we can either reject that and say, "That's not a dog. That's hypocrisy. Every dog that I know is black. You're a bad person." Or you can say, "Really? I've never seen a white dog before. Tell me more." Now, of course, you have to be careful with this. You still have to do your research. You can't just take everybody for, face value of what they say, because you're going to get taken advantage of, my friend. But have an open mind, have an open heart, and try to separate yourself from your emotions. I'm a very emotional person. I know when people say things that piss me off, I can be very quick to be like, what the hell is that? But I'm able to come around, and I find that lately I'm able to come around a lot faster. And that's because I'm separating my emotions from what the person is saying so that we can have a meaningful conversation. Okay, Juan's on here. You're paying hard dollars for a bunch of digital numbers, same as your bank account. There you go, right? That's back to what we were saying earlier about how the amount of actual physical cash in the world compared to the amount of money in circulation is there's less physical cash than there is actual currency in the world. And then we have Bitcoin is the Netflix of banking. Bitcoin is the Netflix of banking. So what now, Juan, what do you mean by that? By it's the Netflix. I like that, but what do you mean by that? Cheers, everybody. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Wow, that puts hair on your chest. This is mezcal, which is smoky. Whoa, wow. Mezcal is smoky tequila. Look at this. Netflix wiped out Blockbuster. Damn. So Juan, what he's saying there is that if Bitcoin is a Netflix of banking, so Bitcoin is to banking what Netflix is to Blockbuster. Blockbuster doesn't exist anymore. So Bitcoin is going to get rid of banks. Sounds like is what he's saying. Again, I don't know enough about it to really comment on that, but wow. I'm going to post that one again there. Hopefully y'all saw that. So here we go. Juan, beautiful man, commenting on it. So people hate Bitcoin because they don't get it, but it is a new wave. You get on board or you hang out with the dinosaurs and end up as a fossil. Those are prophetic words. So I guess what my man's saying is that, and I happen to agree with him. This seems to be the future. But then that means that what we know now, what is the future of that? How do you control this? Well, given that the future is uncertain, provides us with a reminder of all the more reason why we must have these conversations. If we're going to close people down, shut people out, like my man said, if you close the door on people, you're going to be a dinosaur. So adapt, be resilient, or unfortunately, you may suffer the consequences. P.S. I'm a dinosaur trying to get on board. Aren't we all? Juan, my friend, I think we were born in the wrong time, brother. Now Juan and I, we go way back. He's one of my best friends. We go way back. We were born in a really fucking weird age. We were born when Nexopia was a thing. And that's like the precursor of Facebook, and it's like Neolithic. And it was garbage. And you'd put little stills of your favorite bands on there and things like that. And it was just, it was a closed chain, which by that, to bring that into Bitcoin is like anybody can access it. Well, closed chain means that, only your direct friends could get on there. And any girl that you happen to meet at the movie theater on Saturday night that, you thought you could talk to. I couldn't talk to anybody when I was in high school, which is crazy because now I'm doing this. But anyways, so questions, comments, anybody? I think that young people coming up, here's the other question, and this is what we're going to talk about next time, is education. How educators, teachers, people who are as old as me and older than me, they're teaching our youth. How is what they're teaching them relevant to what their students will need to know? Do teachers know anything about Bitcoin and blockchains and the future of industry, the real vocations that are going to be utilized in the next 10 years? Like Tupac said, change, shit. I guess change is good for any of us. Yeah. Change, good, bad, or indifferent. Change is change. It doesn't care change doesn't care the emotion that you attach to it. You'd be like, oh, that's good change or that's bad change. It's irrelevant to change. All right. So I think we're good for there. Not sure if we have any questions or comments. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Cinco de Mayo, which is the 5th of May for anybody who doesn't know that. Which everybody here knows that. So beautiful. I was explaining that to, as you know, I work as an elementary school counselor, and a kid said, yeah, I love change. I'm sorry, I was reading the comment. I said, happy Cinco de Mayo. And they're like, what's that? You like mayonnaise? I'm like, no, it's 5th of May. Yep, exactly. Change will happen whether you like it or not. There you go. So the human species, if coronavirus and these last, year and a half has taught us anything, it's that human beings are incredibly resilient. And change is what will help us. Agreement, when we always disagree with each other, that's actually not change. That's stagnation. That could be either, a form of slavery or a form of tyranny, right? Like, why are people always agreeing with you? If people really love you, if people really respect you, they will not always agree with you. And from that conflict, from that disagreement, there will be change. And it will be change worthwhile if you have an open heart and an open mind. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining us once again on a Wednesday night. We're going to do it again Wednesdays at 8. Cheers. Salute. Salute to you, Juan. Kronenberg Blanc. It's a good beer. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Hopefully I hope you have a wonderful night.